Hello, so today we are going to start to create a part of this story. And we read the story Frieght Train by Donald Cruz. And so now what I want you to do is to draw a picture telling part of the story. So remember the different places that the freight train goes, that it has different kinds of cars, Caboose, tank car, purple box car, lots of different cars that talked about in the story, and then of course the steam engine. That's probably the most important part of the train. So we're going to draw the train, but then I want you to put the train somewhere in the story. So this picture shows the train just on the track. This picture showing the train moving fast. So maybe you want to draw your train and show it moving very fast. Or you could draw your train going through the tunnels like we saw in the story, or going by the cities, and you could draw a city behind your train, crossing over a bridge on the trestles. So I want you to pick one part of the story to draw a picture of your train in that part of the story. And we have a couple of choices. You're going to get a large, long, white piece of paper for your train, because trains are long, so we need a long piece of paper for our train. And you can do your train a couple of different ways. You can use cut paper, or you can draw your train. Completely up to you. So the way that you start this, long white piece of paper, and you're going to write your name, and the day you have art, day A, day B, day C. I'm going to flip it over, and think about where you want to put your train. So you're going to be on the trestles, then your train needs to be up higher, and you need to draw your track higher. You don't want to draw it too high because you need to leave space for your train. So maybe you draw your train tracks first, which is just a straight line. But in order for it to be a track, we need two straight lines, side by side for the track, for the train to be on. And so then I always like, when I'm starting to draw my train, I always like to start with the wheels first. There are 3 big wheels, and then there are 2 smaller wheels. And it comes to a point. It's kind of curved in the front. And then the part where the steam comes out, that big cloud of smoke that we saw. And then the back of the train. Alright, so there's my steam engine. If I want, I could add a couple of windows. It's completely up to you. You get to decide. So what I want you to do on the paper is draw your engine shape. I need to draw 3 wheels down at the bottom. So you can see my 3 wheels. And then I need 2 little wheels. And then the pointy part of the train. This part of the train, this part, let's see, this part right here. And then I need to do the curve of the front. And then I need this part where the steam comes out of the train. So I'm going to draw that right up to the tippy part of the black paper. And then my 2 bumps, and then the back of the train. So there is my train drawn. And now I'm going to carefully cut that out. All in one piece, the best that I can. I'm going to try and stay on my pencil lines. Alright, so there's my train. So now I'm going to do the other parts. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. You want to be careful not to put too much glue on your pieces. So I'm going to flip this over. And you know what? Maybe I won't flip it over. Maybe I'll do something a little different. I'll make my train go to the left instead of to the right. So I'm going to make my train over here. I'm going to put the glue, some glue on my train, just like a frame of glue. I'm going to flip it over and glue it at the bottom, on top of the track, over to one side. And then I want to draw some of the cars that we saw in the book. So there was a box car. So that's just going to be a rectangle. So remember, a rectangle has 2 short sides and 2 long sides, 2 sides that are longer. A rectangle looks different than a square. Square has 4 sides that are all the same length. The rectangle is longer and skinnier. And then the wheels for the rest of the train come in pairs. So it's 2 wheels side by side. I think it just makes the train more sturdy, and that's why it does it. Then the next color that comes with the train is purple, and it was a purple boxcar. So I think I'm just going to leave this just like this and glue this down just as a plain old rectangle behind my engine. Okay, there was a coal car, so maybe I want to draw that. That was even a skinnier rectangle, or shorter rectangle, not nearly as tall as the first one, and then it had coal built up in it. And remember, the wheels come in pairs. The next train was a coal car train, and that was a shorter rectangle, so I'm going to cut the top of that off, do a frame of glue, glue that right behind, and I'm leaving just a little bit of space between each piece because I need to have enough room to get all the way to the back. Alright, the green was a cattle car, so I'm just going to leave it the same. How about the tank car? The tank car is like a sideways oval, so I like to kind of do 2 curves, actually more like a rectangle, I guess, with curved sides. And then it has this rectangle on top, pairs of wheels again. The yellow was the funny car with the triangles on the bottom. So I'm going to cut out a zigzag at the bottom. And if you want to, you could draw that zigzag first, those 2 triangles at the bottom, before you cut. There was a hopper car. Well, it's kind of a funny shape for a car, so I'm going to make it a little bit taller than the tank car. And it's not quite a rectangle. It kind of starts as a rectangle, but then it has 2 triangles, upside down triangles on the bottom. And then it has double wheels in the front and in the back. And it has some pebbles and things in it. Now this one is the tank car, so I am going to draw that. So I've got to draw some curves on this side, and then it comes across, and then there's a rectangle at the top. Now I've got to cut that out very carefully. Frame of glue, and I'm going to glue this a little bit lower for the wheels. I don't want to glue it up high like with the yellow, or the wheels won't be touching the track. Cattle car, where the cows and the horses rest in as they're being pulled on the train. So that's a taller car, pair of wheels. And then it has a big door for the cattle to come in and out of. And then lastly, my caboose. So remember, the caboose kind of has a roof. So I'm going to draw the sides of the caboose. You can do your caboose the way that you want to, but I'm going to draw the sides, so I'll make the caboose have a little roof that hangs over. And then, of course, we don't want to forget the best part of the train, which is the caboose. So the caboose starts off as a rectangle, and it has a rectangle on top and a pair of wheels. If you want, you can make it look more like a roof. Kind of comes up at an angle, and then you could erase that part there. And then it needs windows, so that whoever's at the end of the caboose, riding in the caboose, can wave. So the first thing that I want everyone to do if you're drawing your train is I want you to take a marker and I want you to trace your outlines first. We did this when we drew our self-portrait where we were holding something. We did this when we drew our picture of the first day of school. And I want you to do this because this really helps for people to see what you drew. So you're going to trace your pencil lines very carefully so everyone can see what a neat train that you drew. After you do that, you're going to take your eraser and erase the pencil lines you didn't go over perfectly. And I never trace mine perfectly, so I always have to go back with a pencil and get rid of all those little pencil lines that are poking out, and it'll clean this up and make it look nicer. So you get to decide what drawing media you want to use, and your choices are marker, colored pencil, and crayon. It's up to you which one you use. You get to pick one if you're doing a drawing. And I have one started here that's done in marker. So this is what the marker would look like. I just want to remind you how to neatly color with marker if you choose to color with marker. So notice it's outlined with black and then it's colored in. So you can still see your black lines when you color it in. When you're coloring with marker, you're going to color very neatly and fill in all the spaces. So don't leave any white. If you use the tip of the marker, you get a skinny line. But if you use the wide part of the marker, the wide tip of the diagonal part of the marker, you can get a wider line. And you want to color nice and neat, color in the same direction, fill in all the white spaces very carefully. If you have a marker that's not working, put the cap on it and get a different marker. Don't continue to use a marker that does not work. I want nice bright colors for your train. And you use a black marker to color in your engine. So I'm not going to cover over the windows, I'm going to color around the windows so you can still see that they're there. If I color over the top of them, they go away. I stay inside my pencil lines, my drawing lines, my marker lines, and I'm coloring nice and solid. I'm not scribbling. If I scribble and go fast, the marker kind of looks grayish. It doesn't look nice and dark, but if I go slow with my marker, it'll color in darker. If you're going to use crayon, the same thing. You're going to color in nice and solid. And I think I'm going to try to make my train look like it's going fast. So remember in the story Frieght Train how the back of the train kind of almost was wavy, like it was smeared. So I'm going to try to do that with crayon. And you could try to do it with colored pencil if you want to use colored pencil. So I'm going to start by coloring in nice and neat around my windows. I'm going to color over the top of my wheels. Color in nice and neat, try and stay right inside my marker lines, so people can still see that this is a freight train, that this is the steam engine. If I just scribble and go outside my lines, then people won't be able to tell what this is. If I want to make it go fast, I can just lightly, not real hard, just lightly add a little bit of black on the back like it's going fast. Now the next car on the train was purple, so I'll color neatly in this box car with the purple. And then I want to make it look like it's going fast, so I won't push as hard. I pushed hard to make a dark heavy line, so now I'm going to push lightly, just a little bit, and add a little bit of purple on the back there. The next color is blue. I'm going to press hard on the car itself, and then lightly to make it look like it's smeared. This was coal, I think. It was black, so I'm going to color that in. And I'll add just a little bit of black for that going really fast. And I'll use black to color in my wheels too. If I want to make, I could also do the same effect here with my wheels. I could go lightly over behind my wheels like they're going fast too. Okay? And that's how you would try to make your train look like it's moving fast. Crayon. With marker, I don't think it would be easy to do that. I think it would just look like you colored outside your train. So with marker, you might just want to stick with the standard train. It's at the beginning of the story when we're just looking at the train and it's moving on the track. This one's when it's moving fast. This train is when it's going over the trestles. And this train, I think I'm going to make be going in front of the city. So now that, and my glue is dry, because I don't want you to do this when the glue is wet, I'm going to add all my details with the permanent marker. So I'm going to go through and trace my track line. Again, with this marker, if I go too fast, it's going to look grayish. I need to add wheels to each of my cars. Remember, they're pairs, 2 wheels side by side, and then I'm going to color those in. The box car had a box door on the side and some detail lines. This had some coal in it, so I'll add that and color that in. This one was the cattle car. Then I need the door for the cattle. And then it also had some lines on the side. I think this is for the cattle to be able to breathe, get some fresh air. And the tank car had some lines on the side on the wheels, the pair of wheels. My train, and now I'm going to add the cityscape to it, so the buildings that are behind. Okay, and there's my city behind my train. And there you have your different ways to do your freight train, either doing it with cut paper and then you're putting it in a place in the story, or you're doing a drawing and putting it in place of the story. So this is like the beginning of the story, and this is not quite finished, and then this one's part of the story where the train is moving fast. Good job, kindergarten.